You ever walk into a room and just feel it? That tension? It's not loud, there's no yelling, but it feels like you can't breathe. It's that unspoken weight in a relationship, the silent, invisible strain that almost never gets talked about. Well, that's what we're going to get into today, because we're pulling back the curtain on the quiet pain that people carry on both sides of a controlling dynamic.
And this line, wow, it just perfectly captures what we're talking about. The source material calls this sacred ground, and I think that's exactly right. We're not here to talk about the obvious fights. We're here to understand the hidden burdens. So our goal with this explainer is to give a voice to that silence, to really get a feel for the emotional ghosts that haunt everyone involved. So let's start with the first perspective. Let's step into the internal world of the person who is being controlled. It's a world that's really defined by this heavy, heavy feeling of invisibility, of carrying a weight that it feels like nobody else can even see. Okay, so what is that weight really? Well, it breaks down into these 5 distinct strains that just feed into each other. First, you've got this constant fear of being a nuisance, right? Always second-guessing if you should speak up. That leads to emotional compression, which is this feeling that you have to squash down your own emotions, good or bad, because they might upset someone. And because of that, you develop this chronic hypervigilance. You're constantly scanning the room, reading moods, trying to predict what's coming next. I mean, you can imagine, it is absolutely mentally exhausting. And the result? This deep, profound loneliness, even when you're in a house full of people. And this quote, this just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it? This is the inner monologue. It's the soundtrack playing on a loop that fuels that whole cycle. It's the voice of self-blame, the one that whispers that your feelings, your very presence, are an inconvenience. It just makes all those strains we just talked about feel incredibly personal. All right, now we need to pivot. Let's look at the other side of this dynamic. And I want to be really clear here. This is not about making excuses for harmful behavior. Not at all. It's about understanding the internal prison that drives these actions. It's like an armor built not out of strength, but out of a very deep fear. See, for the person doing the controlling, the strains look totally different on the surface. It often starts with a deep, repressed shame, this core belief that they aren't good enough. And that shame gets projected outward as anger or criticism. To handle that, they develop an emotional numbness. Feelings are a weakness, so they build this hard exterior, this shield. So that constant need for control, it's not really about power. It's a desperate attempt to manage their own inner chaos. And underneath all of that is this paralyzing fear of being exposed, of anyone seeing the real, wounded person under the mask. And ultimately, that just leads to a profound isolation created by their own ego. And this is where you really see the disconnect, right? This is their inner monologue. Even while their actions are causing pain, their perception is that they are the one being wronged, being misunderstood. They genuinely don't see their own behavior as the problem. They see it as a reaction to being made to feel like the bad guy. So you've got these 2 people living under one roof, each carrying their own universe of pain. And this is where their 2 completely different realities just smash into each other, creating that constant, unspoken tension we talked about at the very beginning. Let's just look at this side by side for a second. On one side, the person being abused is carrying the weight of invisibility, and their inner thought is, I made it worse. On the other side, the abuser is carrying this weight of unconscious guilt, and their inner thought is, they make me feel like the bad guy. You see that? It's the exact same moment, the same tense silence, but it's being interpreted through 2 completely different and conflicting lenses of pain. And this brings us to what is maybe the most crucial point of this whole thing. This one sentence says it all. The truth is, they're both haunted. Haunted by their own demons, shame, fear, insecurity, but, and this is a big but, only one of them is being hunted. The power imbalance is real. Only one person is living in that state of hypervigilance, in constant fear of the other person in the room. Okay, so acknowledging all this it's heavy, I know, but it's also the exact place where change can actually start. So let's shift gears a little, from just analyzing the problem to thinking about the solution. How does healing even begin? Well, it starts by replacing those old, destructive inner monologues with new truths. This slide shows the 2 very different paths healing has to take. For the person who has been living under this control, the journey can start with this powerful affirmation. I am not a burden. I was conditioned to believe I was. You see how it separates who they are from the role they were forced to play? And for the person who has been controlling, if they're ever going to change, their journey has to start with this. Power isn't safety. Control isn't love. It challenges the very foundation of that armor they've built. Now, to bring this all home and make it really practical, we want to end with a tool for you. These next few slides are a series of reflection prompts. taken from the source material, and they're designed to help you connect these big ideas to your own life. You can think of it as a tool for waking up. So let's just take a moment with this first one. Whether you see yourself in one role, the other, or maybe you just grew up around this kind of dynamic. What are the silent habits you've picked up along the way? What are the scripts that just run on autopilot in your head? This next one gets really specific. That feeling of being a nuisance, it's such a powerful trigger for so many people. So when that feeling hits, what's your go-to response? Do you physically make yourself smaller? Do you start over-explaining everything? Just noticing that pattern is a huge first step.
Remember what we said about emotional compression, about squashing your feelings down? It's not always about hiding sadness or anger. Sometimes we even suppress our joy so we don't rock the boat. So, the question is, where in your life do you do this? And maybe more importantly, what is keeping the peace actually costing you?
Okay, this one takes some real courage to ask yourself. If you recognize some of those controlling patterns in your own behavior, this prompt is an invitation to look underneath it. Control is almost always a mask for a hidden fear. A fear of being abandoned, a fear of not being good enough. What might yours be? And finally, let's end by looking forward. Just take a second and really imagine this. What would it actually feel like, in your body, to live in a space where your needs and your emotions aren't seen as problems to be managed, but as welcome, true parts of who you are? This isn't just some fantasy. It's a real possibility, and it starts with believing you deserve it.
So we'll leave it there. If any of this resonated with you, just remember these words. You're not alone. You're not weak. Understanding these things, seeing them clearly for the first time, that's not weakness. That is the first, most powerful sign that you are waking up. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.